Hello everyone, Tmmgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you a very tired football talk episode. The series where I sit down and talk about all of the goings on in world football, Premier League, internationals, all sorts. And the reason why today is a tired commentary is because I was actually in a 5:45 shift this morning, so I was up at the wrong side of 4:30. And it's never the best time to wake up in the morning. I'm just going to have to say that. And you always get these people who work early shifts and they say, oh, it's the best time of the day and you get more of the day to yourself. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. If you work an 8-hour shift, it doesn't matter what time you start the 8-hour shift, you're still going to be working 8 hours. And the day doesn't go any larger than 24 hours. You might come home earlier, but then you have to go to bed at 9 o'clock because you're up at crikey o'clock in the morning. So I'm a little tired. Not too bad. I'm actually sitting here with a nice beer, which is pretty nice. Just having a nice relaxing afternoon beer, and I thought I'd sit down and talk about some football for a little bit. So that's the aim of today, and there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. The first thing is the Super Cup. I nearly said Super League then. God, that would be a rugby league talk there, and that's something I have no interest in at all. The Super Cup final, the showpiece season opener, as it will, from UEFA, between the winners of the Champions League, Real Madrid, and the winners of the Europa League, Sevilla. And if you didn't see the game and you don't know the final score, it finished 2-0 to Madrid. Fairly standard game. You know, it's never a massive deal, is it, the Super Cup? Or it is the Super Cup, I'm calling it the right thing. There's so many different names for these pre-season, like Community Shield, Super Cup, all these sort of things that go on before. Sometimes they all blur together. But yeah, they're never really a classic game. However, I did quite enjoy it. I did quite enjoy the game, and one of the reasons why I really enjoyed it was the first time we could see this unbelievable attacking force that Real Madrid have assembled for this season play together in the flesh and actually in a competitive game. It's a really frightening attacking force. And if you missed the game, like I mentioned, basically Madrid's midfield going forward was Modric and Kroos sitting, James Rodriguez in the number 10 position, and then Ronaldo, Benzema and Bale as the front three. And you know how Madrid work, and Ronaldo and Bale drift around, and Benzema likes to go wide as well and run the channels. So those front three, I suppose interchanging with Rodriguez, are quite fluid, and the potential of the attacking power that those guys can generate is absolutely incredible. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see the best of that yesterday. And like I mentioned, a lot of that is because it's not really a true competitive game. You know, it's certainly a step up from your bog standard friendly when you go and play Carlisle and you put the kids out. You know, the good thing is Ancelotti certainly put out an incredibly strong team. You're a really strong team, featuring all of these new signs. The Kroos and the James Rodriguez is the most obvious and potent of those signings who played. But it was a really good open game. There's plenty of good football. Unfortunately, the major signing, James Rodriguez, fell a little bit flat for me. He got a decent run out. He was okay, but he gave the ball a little bit too easily in the first half. He didn't really look like his dynamic self, but that's to be expected. He's had a limited pre-season. He's come back late after the World Cup, where he was the shining light, the focal point. He should have won Player of the Tournament, but didn't, because he's obviously not sponsored by Adidas, or Adidas pay Lionel Messi too much money to not have him win that tournament, which is a little bit unfortunate. So he was a little bit off the boil, and obviously the complete cutting edge wasn't there. That sharpness you have of playing a few months into a season, suddenly everything begins to click and get that bit a little bit sharper and faster. You didn't have that, but there was still some lovely football being played. The ball in from Gareth Bale for Cristiano Ronaldo's first goal was just absolutely exquisite. You won't see a better cross than that all season. There will be equivalently good crosses, but it was just outstanding. It was an inch perfect cross. He was so deep as well, because from first glance it looked like it was just a standard cross. He's whipped him from the edge of the air and it looked very good still. But when you actually see how deep he was back up the pitch, and how much pace and dip he's put on that ball to swing it and then dip it over the defender's head straight to Ronaldo, it's a phenomenal cross. It really is. And that's one of the things you don't often get with Bale playing on the right. And what happened there was obviously Bale had switched to the left-hand side. Him and Ronaldo had rotated. And literally 2 minutes after the rotation had happened, that wonderful cross came in and the goal was scored. And this is the major threat, I think, of the Madrid attacking lineup. It's so incredibly fluid and versatile. Benzema will try and play the most forward position. He will be the out-and-out striker, but even he drops deep or he goes wide, and then Ronaldo runs beyond him and Bale runs beyond him and Rodriguez just floats around. The potential for movement and pace and passing amongst those players is absolutely phenomenal, and we saw a little bit of that yesterday. I thought Toni Kroos was pretty decent in midfield. He looked good on the ball, put a few good challenges in as well. Wasn't just the attacking force. He played a decent role defensively, and that's always been the question when you look at teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid, especially over like the last 10 years. No one has ever doubted their ability to score goals. No chance. Everyone's always had a little bit of question mark at the other end of the field. Can they, in the really big games, actually keep clean sheets? Because when you're playing a true top-class European side, you can't afford to concede 3 goals because you're not going to have an opportunity to score 4 very often to win the game. And this was the thing that Brazil suffered with in the World Cup. With like players like Neymar in the team, they always had a chance to score goals. But when you've got David Luiz and Marcelo at the back, you're not going to score 8 goals versus the Germans, are you, to keep you in the World Cup? It's not going to happen. And this was always Madrid's problem, but they seem now to have tightened up a little bit at the back. Having Kroos and Modric sit in front of that back four, and they're not out defensive midfielders by any stretch, and I don't think you're going to see massive teams like Real Madrid play with an out defensive midfielder too often. Because if you go back a little bit in time, before Real Madrid slump, when they were still one of the ultimate team in Europe, a lot of that was built on Claude Makélélé, a really talented defensive midfielder who literally his entire job was just to assist in defending, make a few interceptions, anticipate with the attacks and break them down, and then literally just provide 5-10 yard passes. Obviously that's a bit of an oversimplification. He was a much more talented footballer than just that, but that was his role, very limited, and he just let everybody else go for it. Football now isn't really played like that anymore. At the very, very highest level, the entire team basically keeps the ball, and that's done to different extents. It's done in the German way very, very efficiently, so they knock it around until a chance is available to be created and they go and take the chance, or the Pep Guardiola way, where they knock it around until the cows come home and then they might win 1-0. But that is the basic gist of how things are done now. So having these two midfielders who are very, very good on the ball and can spray passes and maintain pressure, but also aren't too bad at sticking a foot in every now and again. Certainly Toni Kroos isn't going to get pushed over and bullied too much in midfield. He can keep himself to himself, and he can do a reasonable job defensively. Modric may be a little bit more of a lighter, smaller build player, who's more about his agility and his balance and his technique than he is his physical presence. Even he puts himself about enough to be useful, and that's what you need. You don't just want people to carry as in midfield basically, who aren't going to do anything defensively for you. So they are helping, and it was very, very nice to see Coentrão play ahead of Marcelo as well. I think Coentrão is a much better player than Marcelo is. I absolutely hate defenders who can't defend, and this is one of the reasons why I completely passionately argue to all of my friends who disagree that Glenn Johnson's one of the worst defenders in the Premier League, and he is. Defensively speaking, he's naive. He can't mark. He finds himself out of position all the time. He's terrible in the air. He's not particularly good at tackling, and he's redeemed by the fact he's very, very good going forward. But again, I hate to use this example. Well, I don't hate to use it. It's a very, very good example. Look at the Brazil-Germany game when you had defenders like Marcelo just absolutely stormed forward. David Luiz, he just ran forward, and they were found out. You need to have your defenders defend at the beginning, and this is what point 1 should be on the list of what makes a good defender, is that they are good at defending. Point 1 on the list of what makes a good defender shouldn't be, they can score free kicks from 30 yards, which David Luiz can, but he can't mark, and he can't tackle, and he can't marshal his centre-back partner. So automatically that makes him average at defending, and you understand my point. Coentrão is much better at defending than Marcelo is, and he still offers enough going forward to be threatening. He isn't as blisteringly quick as Marcelo, he isn't as good on the ball, but if I would rather have a defender put a tackle in or put a cross in, I'm definitely choosing put a tackle in, especially when you look at Madrid's team, and they have such an unbelievable array of attacking talent. There's no need to sacrifice at fullback to support that. So I was pleased to see Coentrão start, and I thought he played pretty well, to be honest. I was pretty happy with the way he played. But this is the beginning now of a Madrid side who I think are going to be incredibly difficult to beat for the Champions League this season. They have just a phenomenal attacking team. And Ramos and Pepe, especially Sergio Ramos over the last few years, when he first came onto the scene, he was a right back and he got converted to centre half. There was always a little bit of a question mark about him. Both Ramos and Pepe certainly had a red card in them. But I think over the last couple of years, those two have really come on. And as Madrid have just got better and better, they have been a large part of that. So for me, Madrid are, I'm going to say, favourites for the Champions League at this point. Obviously, they're still defending champions, so that's a big part of that. But the additions they've made, the squad they have, it really is incredible. And I'm actually interested to see how much time Keylor Navas gets at Madrid. Obviously, he's moved in. Diego Lopez has gone. Casillas is very much under pressure as Madrid's #1. Navas had a good World Cup. It would be interesting to see how well he plays. So it's going to be definitely an interesting season at Real Madrid. But the next thing I wanted to talk about, well, the next person I wanted to talk about really, is Wayne Rooney. And this comes into conversation because obviously last couple of days Wayne Rooney has been officially announced as the new Manchester United captain. You know, Louis van Gaal has come out and made him the new club captain after saying he's been very impressed with him in training, and he's bought into the new system, and he's listening to Van Gaal's ideas, and it's going to set up what could be a career-defining moment for Wayne Rooney, because it's highly likely that he's going to be made England captain. And in fact, Roy Hodgson gave an interview for Sky Sports News just this week saying he's already chosen his England captain. He knows who it's going to be. He hasn't told the player yet, and we'll find out pretty soon. The Norway friend is coming up pretty soon. I think that's going to be the day when we find out. And Rooney's the favourite. It's going to be a massive period for Wayne Rooney, because I think most people acknowledge that talent-wise, he is our best footballer. When I say ours, I mean England's best footballer. He's an incredibly talented player. He scored a huge number of goals. He works incredibly hard. He creates chances for his teammates. He's just a very talented striker. But at the very highest level, at Champions League finals, at World Cups, at big European championships, there's still a little bit of a question mark as to how high up the tree you place him. Is he just going to be one of those strikers who you think, oh yeah, Wayne Rooney, he scored a lot of goals for Manchester United? Or is it going to be Wayne Rooney, he won a lot of titles for Manchester United? And at this moment, you can always look back and say, yeah, the reason why United won so-and-so title was because of Ronaldo, or Tevez was in the team, or they had this incredible defence, so Vidic, and they just didn't concede goals, great keeper in Van der Sar, etc. That he was always part of a really talented side. And when he wasn't part of a really talented side, which is England, he flattered to deceive a little. And this is where Wayne Rooney really needs to decide how he wants to be remembered. Does he want to be remembered as a true top-class player? Because if he does, there's no better opportunity than right now. Gonna be named captain of your club, highly likely to be named captain of your country. There's no better way to show what you're made of with success in both of those fields now. Now, success for England, I can't see England winning a major tournament, especially not the Euros, and probably not the World Cup in 4 years' time. And those are realistically going to be Wayne Rooney's last two tournaments where he's going to be a major force, at his peak or just past his peak, where he's going to be a still very high quality footballer. And beyond that, he's getting a little bit too far into his 30s. It's always difficult for a player once you get past that stage. And once if you're a player like Wayne Rooney, and a lot of your game is based on hustle and stamina, fitness, strength, those are the sorts of things that decline as you get older. If you look at players who are based on technical ability and passing and off the ball movement, stuff like that, so it's not just the engine. I'm not saying Wayne Rooney is just engine by any stretch, but you understand my point. That's easier to maintain as players get older. Just look at Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs, when he was younger, was always blisteringly fast. He was a great winger. But the reason why he could be so effective as he got older was because he had such fantastic technical ability, and he never lost that. And in fact, some would say that his technical ability continued just to get better and better throughout his career. So I wouldn't describe Wayne Rooney as a player like that. So I think he's got about a 5-year window here to really stamp his authority on his career and come out. If in that period United win a Champions League with him as captain and possibly a couple of Premier League titles, some cups here and there. And if England go to a major tournament and he, as captain, puts in a great showing and scores a few goals, which we haven't really seen at a major tournament from Wayne Rooney since he was a very young player indeed, bursting onto the scene for England, that's what he needs to do to be remembered as very, very successful and one of the great England players and one of the great Manchester United players. This is a huge opportunity for Wayne Rooney. These are opportunities you get once in a lifetime in your professional field. To captain, to all of a sudden go from not captaining anything to captaining your club and your country is going to be huge. And how Wayne Rooney deals with that is really going to decide, like I mentioned, how he's remembered. And it's going to be fascinating this season to see whether Rooney can handle the pressure, whether he can handle actually having all of this expectation firmly placed on his shoulders, because he's always been one of the best players, he's always been expected to perform well, but now he's the captain. Now it's that extra level, and whether Wayne Rooney can deal with that is going to be very, very interesting. But guys, once again, thank you so much for listening to the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Plenty of interesting things discussed today. As always, I'd be delighted to hear what you have to say. If you're interested in leaving a comment, that'd be fantastic. Or one final plug again for my Twitter account. It's a really, really good way to keep up with me. It's much easier to see all the tweets at you over comments, because what happens in videos is if you get like a couple of comments in a video, only one will get notified to you. But if you send somebody a tweet, very easy to see. It's very hard to miss a tweet. So if you're interested, that's in the description for you. But as always, thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and have a great day.